Hello everybody, welcome to your lecture on gender portrayal in different traditional media. This lecture is a part of your paper on gender, media and society. This lecture will help you understand the relationship between gender and media. We will discuss the portrayal of gender in different traditional media. As it can be seen in everyday discourse, that media representations in media clearly highlight how different media portray gender roles in different forms. Media portrayal of gender influences audience heavily and forms their opinions. Gender representation of media normally revolves around stereotypical portrayals of masculinity and femininity, which can be seen across the world. Thus, it becomes very important for us to understand the different forms of portrayal of media. Also, there is a need to continue exploring relationship between media and gender in the light of masculinity and femininity. So here we will be focusing on the similar aspect throughout the lecture. To understand the intersection between media and gender, let's understand some very basic concepts important for today's lecture. Sex. What do you understand by the term sex and gender? Can these two words be interchangeable? The answer is no. The word sex is cited to an individual's sexual inclination and body structure settled by the influence of hormones and genes, while the word gender is formed by attitude, role and norms set by cultures that allots to being female or male. Sex applies to the internal organs of reproduction, inherent makeup and coordination of individual brains that differentiates the male from the female. The social conduct and position related with both men and women is because of their cultural consciousness and their way of upbringing and socialization. That is gender. Masculinity versus femininity. The difference between gender and sex raises the question of difference between men and women. The male body is entitled in our culture to certain traits that characterize maleness or masculinity. Similarly, femininity is also culturally constructed based on the body of the biological female. Thus, the concept of masculinity and femininity are culturally produced to signify the socially accepted differences between men and women. Let's give a look at the representations of all men across media. The representations are based on the strength, both physical and intellectual, power, physique, independence, whereas representations of all women across media are based on beauty, body, sexual object, dependency, emotional dealings. Generally, portrayal of gender can be explored on the basis of three important trends. Let's see what these are. First, women are underrepresented, which underscores that females are unimportant in society. Secondly, both male and female are portrayed in a stereotypical manner. Thirdly, relationship between men and women depicted in media highlights upon conventional roles and normalizes violence inflicted upon women. Underrepresentation of women. Let's start with the representation of women. Usually, the most common and chief mode of distorting reality by media is by demeaning women in the subject matter. Basso, 1992, stated that be it primetime show on television or children's program, females are outnumbered by males by 2 to 1. This constant imparity in representation of females presumes our belief that women are lesser than men in reality. Leichter and Rothel, 1986. Women as executives, producers, and television writers constitute to around 5% only. Well, this is research. A few media analysts also believe that if more women are provided with the executive level position of authority, then media will provide more constructive depiction of women. And this is indeed the need of art. Stereotypical roles of men. Another issue is related to stereotypes. Well, recently studies are showing that men depicted on primetime televisions aggressive and independent. Well, that's true. J.D. Brown and K. Campbell showed in their studies that men are indulged very less household work, cooking or child care. This portrays a stereotypical image of men in a negative way who never involves themselves in family issues. In reality, the case may not be true. Also, stereotype of women. Media images of women also deviate sharply from reality. Thus, women are equally vulnerable to the stereotypes set by the media. Women are portrayed as dependent on men doing the household work, etc. Due to patriarchal role, there is a lesser chance of women being the source of lead news stories. Women are often made to appear enticing and attractive to lure the audience. Media also represents and defines women as sex symbols. Images of men and women relationships presented stereotypically. Images of men and women relationships presented stereotypically show three very major aspects. The main aspect that is featuring through media is men's dominance and independence in a relationship in quantity to the woman's dependency on men. The second aspect is that men are capable enough to protect the frail and the inadequate woman. The third representation of women depicted by media is that women are eternal caregivers and on other hand, men are contributors. Even if media portrays women's career gets very less or no attention. Print. Well, let's see. Women representation in media is a matter of dispute in the communication domain. Portrayal of women and media coverage. Topic has been an issue of interest to all, be it print, electronic or social media. Miller, in 1993, traced the aspect of different previous records of gender misrepresentation in history, like 1970s newsroom battle and social disruption, a time when women journalists and activists insisted the same choice or career. Gamble, Huggins and Sanchez-Huckles in 2005 opined the observation that media was the main role player upon highlighting and disfiguring the colorful life of people. Content analysis approach was used by them in studying magazine advertisements, in which they found that female-oriented magazines portrayed stereotypical image of women. Advertising. Well, the moving on to the advertisement industry was a little different story. Advertising is one more section apart from print media, which distorts and manipulates the women image and depicts them as sex objects in the media. The trend commenced from around 1850s, when sexual representation of women was done by the advertising companies, and this was in order to sell their products. You must have noticed that some of the women and women's magazines have advertisements that only sell clothes and beauty products, devoid of ads that encourage examples of innovation and technology. Such ads are usually found in magazines targeted for men. Women magazines often feature ads that involve pills and strategies on diet, creating an impractical image of what society wants women to look like, and not which actually women look like. In case of electronic media, the most common setting for women is in the domestic residence. Women are more associated, accessorized with commodities like ointments, beauty and health products, womanish products and attires. On the other hand, men are more related with cough and cold, antibiotics, electrical gadgets and computers. The next form of medium is films. In films too, there are stereotypical portrayal of women. Women in Indian movies are given a status of second tier. They are depicted as lesser in rank and belong to the society's weaker section. Emphasis is generally laid on item or dancing girls or one-dimensional character glorifying the journey of the hero. Women only need to be honorable, washed over, less contained, etc. In today's world, soaps and serials, which normally women see, daily soaps on Indian television also suffer from a serious problem of stereotypical portrayal of gender. Typical portrait of women in soaps include women wearing expensive costumes, even in household, decked from head to toe in gold, praying faithfully for the well-being of the husband, and of course the other family members. Serials like Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki, Kasauti Zindagi Ki, Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, Saat Phere, Bhabhi, etc. etc. are and have been made to depict the ideal woman character and emphasize the stereotypical character of the typical housewife of India. Television serials show the traditional values via joint families and daughters-in-law. However, it is quite amusing to observe that the values are thrust upon the lines of the patriarchal settings. Roles depicted by women are often unrealistic. Such roles are further problematic for the portrayal of a particular gender. So let us come to the conclusion. Summing up this lecture, we hope that you have noticed the difference between media portrayal of men and women. We learnt that media representations are one of the way messages are transmitted to larger audiences. The media and the feminist activists who often fail under the stereotypical embodiment of women and male domination in content of media. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. For more details, please read the e-text of this lecture properly and attempt the questions in the end. Thank you.